Most brands, unfortunately, are using SMS in an irrelevant way. Humility is not a sign of weakness. In fact, humility is a sign of strength. Television, radio often doesn't reach the masses. Don't make me sound so old, yeah.
So today with us we have Mr. Gaurav Sharma. He's a seasoned marketing professional with over 25 years of experience in the industry. He's worked for brands like HUL, SPGN and many more media companies. He also has a Cannes Award for this and he is an educator and marketer by heart. We're happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much,
Pleasure to
Anushka.
have
Lovely
you
to be
here.
here. Lovely to be
Pleasure
here.
to have you here. So to start with, I would like to know how did you start the whole journey and what intrigued you, what interested you towards this?
So this journey is the education journey, right?
Yeah.
So this happened when I was at Omnicom Media Group, and there's a separate vertical in the agency called Omnicom University. My HR had called me and said that, Gaurav, you're looking at mobile marketing, and there is a requirement that's come from Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communications, and we want you to go and teach the batch. And I said, Anju, so Anju is still the head of HR there. I said, Anju, I'm not prepared. I've never taught a class and I don't know how to teach. So she said, well, how difficult can it be? You just prepare something and go. This is exactly how you talk to clients. Students should be an easier cup of tea for you to handle. Like no way, they're much younger, they're much smarter, they're much harsher. So, you need to prepare yourself. So that was my first interaction with teaching, so to speak. And it happened about 10 years back. And there's been no looking back ever since. I just loved the interaction so much. The feedback that I got from the audience. It helped me design the content, so that the students appreciate it. And ever since Symbiosis, I've taken sessions at various institutes, at ITM, at SPJN, MICA in Ahmedabad, and IIM Kozhikode. And so I graduated from teaching students, so to speak, into corporate training sessions.
Right.
So with IIM Kozhikode and MICA Ahmedabad, I'm actually training corporates on certain topics in their management development programs. And I'm loving it. I just wish that when I was a management student, if I had these opportunities at that time, I would have been more knowledgeable actually.
That's amazing. So we know that you have over 25 years of experience. I wasn't even born when you started working in the industry.
Don't make me sound so old, yeah.
So can you share a specific project or a campaign? Like you told us about education like you've been doing since. Can you tell us about a specific project or a campaign that you really like and you really, cherish till date? Can you tell us?
Wow, this is interesting. Yeah, very interesting. It actually makes me go back to about 2008, 2009, when I was with this company called Contest to Win.
Right.
At that point in time, it was one of the leading players in the digital marketing space. And we had a meeting with ICICI Prudential Life Insurance. They're one of my clients. So they had actually called us for a pitch when they were launching health insurance as a vertical.
Right.
And they explained us the entire product, the consumer behavior, what they wanted in the communication. And they were expecting something on standard lines. You know how health insurance and life insurance is marketed? They have a very somber, a very serious communication. It's a serious product at the end of the day. And so they gave us a brief and I went back and I had a meeting with my creative team. And the one brief that I gave them was, listen, it's health insurance, but we are Contest to Win. And we took pride at that point in time to do things very differently. So I said, listen, they have given us a brief to talk about health insurance and why health insurance. As in why as a consumer should you invest in health insurance. But we shouldn't go back to them with what they do. I know that's what they're expecting. So my team came up with this brilliant idea called Beta Number 1. It was an illustration film. The protagonist was this small boy called Raju. I wish I could show it to you, but you go to YouTube, you can search for it. The protagonist is a small boy, and it's a typical Bollywood setting. You start with thunder, lightning in a house. You zoom into the house, and there is an ailing mother on the bed, coughing.
राजू, तुम्हारी माँ को दुआ की नहीं, दवा की जरूरत है.
Right? Think of Nirupa Roy. And the younger version of Amitabh Bachchan standing at the bedside. and there's a doctor. This entire story was how Raju will actually help the ailing mother in getting the medicines. Okay, and so obviously there's a lot of exaggeration. There is a lot of Bollywood play that happens, and at the end we show Raju coming inside and saying, "Dekho माँ, मैं तुम्हारी दवाइयाँ ले आया." And the mother is like, "But Raju, हमारे पास तो पैसे नहीं थे. तुम ये दवाइयाँ लाए कहाँ से? तुमने ज़रूर अपनी किताबें बेच दी होंगी." So again, very exaggerated way she ends up slapping the boy, and ultimately the boy loses his patience and says, "माँ, मैंने कुछ नहीं बेचा है."
किताबें नहीं बेची, नहीं बेची, नहीं बेची। हमारे पास ICICI प्रूडेंशियल हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस का फुल हेल्थ कवर है।
हमारे पास ICICI Prudential Insurance की health insurance policy है. So the mother says, "I'm so sorry for doubting you, मेरा राजा बेटा." And after a pause, the mother says, "But Raju, premium के पैसे कहाँ से आए तेरे पास?" So, you know, it's a very fun film that lasts for about 2.5-3 minutes. When we presented it to ICICI True Life, the marketing team clearly said a no, saying, "What do you expect? We can't be seen partnering with something like this."
Right.
It took us a few meetings to convince them, and it became the most watched online film in 2008. At that point in time, the concept of viral marketing, as we so readily accept it today and we understand it, was just taking form. It was watched 5 lakh times online. And not only that, the link of this film went to Khajura Sharma, who at that point in time was the MD and CEO of ICICI Life. From who? Shikha's daughter. She sent it to the mother saying, "I didn't know, Mom, you did such cool things." So ultimately, the ending of it all was fabulous. Great effort. And obviously, there was, needless to say that we ended up being the favorite agency of ICICI Life after that. And we did many more campaigns.
So, to all the viewers, Gaurav sir and his team has worked on an amazing campaign, which is one of the best campaigns in India so far, which was Khajura Tesan for Hindustan Unilever. This campaign was targeted towards an audience which had no access toward the internet and lived in a secluded place. Sir, could you please elaborate more on this campaign?
खजूरा टेसन 1820,000 एक दो तीन अरे मिस कॉल लगाओ मुफ्त मनोरंजन पाओ.
So that's the most interesting campaign that I've handled till date. And this was when I was with the Omnicom Media Group,
Right.
Leading the mobile marketing vertical. So the challenge that HUL threw at us was they wanted to develop a media channel for media dark areas. And they had shortlisted Bihar and Jharkhand to be the 2 test markets to launch something. Why did they want to do this? Because in media dark areas, typical media marketing mix channels don't work. So you have very little penetration of print media. Outdoors is negligible. Television, radio often doesn't reach the masses. What can we do? What kind of media channel can we create? So we as an agency went back to them and said, "Hey, listen, everyone seems to have a mobile phone, practically everyone."
Right.
And I'm talking way back in 2012. The penetration of mobile was even it was higher even at that time. So what we did is that we went back to them saying that what if we create a media channel by people giving a missed call on a number? And they were like, "Okay, explain to us further how this will work." How do you listen to a radio channel? You tune into a particular frequency,
Right.
like a 94.3 FM. But you don't have radio reaching the masses in those media dark areas. So we said if a person gives a missed call to a number 18,30,123, an automated phone call will come back within a few seconds to the person's mobile number. All the person has to do is pick the phone up and listen to the same audio capsule that typically runs on a radio channel.
Right.
So a radio jockey talks to you, introduces, cracks a joke, talks about a song, the song plays, a contest happens. So we started with a 15-minute capsule, then we made it into a 20-minute capsule. We then made it into a 30-minute capsule. All people had to do was make a missed call and ultimately get a call back.
Right.
We started with a very few number of people using it, but as of 2014, June, July, we had about 80 million people who had experienced the platform, of which more than 40 million people were profile listeners. Means we knew much more than their mobile numbers. We knew where they were calling from, what genders they were, what was their education like at home, what was their monthly household income. Now these parameters are very important to serve relevant product advertisements to them.
Right.
Ultimately, what did Khajura Tesan enable HUL to do? They created a radio platform for serving relevant product advertisements of all their products. A Lifebuoy product advertisement should be ideally played to a male, whereas a Fair and Lovely product advertisement should be played for a female. So that's exactly what we were able to achieve. And this is something that enabled us to nominate the product for Cannes, for Cannes Lions. And we make the presentation to the jury there. We came back with 4 Cannes Lions. And professionally for me, that was a very high point in my career. Right. And I was very happy to have been worked on a platform where I got a chance to get a mobile operator, a content manufacturer, and a delivery partner. No other brand in India and abroad had been able to do something like this at that big a scale.
I was just coming to that point wherein you also won the Cannes Award for this very campaign. Congratulations. And
thank you.
We
Anushka.
all aim to, get there someday. Moving forward, you've also worked across different industries like BFSI, finance and everything. How do you cater all to these clients? Because BFSI requires expertise, right? Because it's a wider niche. So how do you cater to that industry?
So I think, Anushka, it's very important that before you start working with a particular industry, it's important to ask the right questions when you meet clients. So when I had my first BFSI meeting, obviously I didn't know too much about insurance. I didn't know too much about banking products. I didn't know too much about fintech. But you gain that information by asking the client. You shouldn't feel ashamed or belittled if you don't know that. Right. See, ultimately you will be able to help the client only when you know as much as they do, right? Only then can you go back to them with the right solutions. You need to ask them how their consumers view the products. Where do they find challenges in communicating product benefits and features? Right. So I made one point as a standing rule for the way I worked. Whenever I started working with any category or any industry, I used to gain a lot of information by asking the client that, yeah, please get me up to speed. Aap jahan pe ho na, please get me up to speed there. Give me as much information as possible. Your past advertisements, and I did my own research also. Right. Not just depending upon the client, but I asked them. I was never afraid and ashamed to ask the client saying, listen, I don't know too much about your category and product. Why don't you help me? And that actually helped me and the team. See, because ultimately, me being the salesperson was the bridge between the client and the company and the agency. So if I give the right information inside to my creative folks, will we be able to give the right solution? Right. So I tried to get up to speed with as much information as possible about the product, about the category, about the marketing, as much as the brand marketer was. So to bring out the best out of you, you need to ask questions so that you can deliver the best. Absolutely. I'll give you an example. We were having a meeting with a client. I'm not going to name the client. And we were talking about a product that typically talks to mothers. Right. And I was in Omnicom at that point in time. And we had an all-agency meeting. So the room was full of people. And the brand team was basically giving us a full rundown of what they were expecting to launch. Right. And they were talking mothers for children. So I just raised my hand and I said, listen, I have a question. We're talking about children. We're talking about product that are sold to children. And you're talking about mothers. Don't you think that even the father should be involved in this campaign? Because ultimately, a father is also held responsible for the well-being of their child, right? So the brand team was so shocked and pleasantly surprised. And they said, Gaurav, it's a very good question, but we will not be able to chase the Titanic very fast. Maybe in a few years' time, we'll start targeting fathers also. But for the time being, we'll target mothers. I think we as agency folks should not get too unsettled or too worried. Should I ask this question? Will the brand feel bad? I think they want agency folks to ask questions. And that's exactly what happened with me in HUL as well. There were a lot of times I was used to tell the brand that this is not what you should be doing. And they used to take the advice seriously. Because I also showed them that I'm a part of your team. Right. I'm just not working with you as an agency folk, right? I'm working with you as a partner within HUL's system, ecosystem. So I think that's important.
Yeah, and the agency and the brand both wants to market their product
Absolutely.
very well.
You're a
They're on the
success
same
partner
page,
for them,
yes.
right? So at the end of the year when they do a review, what do they check for? How did you help me in the last 12 months?
Right.
And one of the things is, were your people able to identify with us as employees of the company, or were you just working with us as an agency person?
True.
So I think I always kept that in mind that, oh, true, I'm working for an agency, but my primary responsibility is to think of the betterment of my client. So I always used to spend a lot of time at HUL's office. I used to sit with the team. I used to talk to them, understand their challenges. As I said earlier, the more you do that, the more you're making the client feel confident and comfortable saying, oh, this chap seems to be on my side, rather than on the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, do you think SMS marketing is still in the buzz? Like Zomato is using push notifications for a lot of notifications. So, what is your opinion on this? Like SMS marketing, or is there something else that's going to come in the next eras?
So I think before we pass a judgment on whether SMS marketing is still relevant, I think first we need to ask a question. Whether it's any channel of communication, why is it relevant to the consumer? I think if we get that answer, tell me one thing, are you a Zomato Gold user?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want a Zomato Gold user, if Zomato sent you a message saying, Anushka, we've seen you order very frequently, but you're not a Zomato Gold user.
Right.
Here is a chance to use Zomato Gold free for 1 month. And they sent you an SMS.
Yeah.
Click here to start your journey. Tell me, would you react and accept their offer, or would you not?
I would use it, of
You
course,
will.
because everybody loves free food.
Correct.
Free things.
Correct. But if Zomato, the same brand, sends you an SMS saying, hey, Zomato is launching a food festival, come be a part of it. What will you do? I don't want. Maybe you won't react.
Two sides of a coin. Maybe people won't go, people would go.
So if you want people to react positively, be it any channel of communication, ask yourself as a consumer, is it relevant? Am I making my proposition relevant and compelling to the consumer? If it is compelling for the consumer, it doesn't matter whether it comes to you in the form of an SMS or in the form of a notification. And I'm very happy and surprised that you took the example. Recently, I was embroiled in a huge controversy regarding the notification.
Yeah.
A lady, a few weeks back, got a notification. So the notification apparently came from iPill, which was a contraceptive,
Right.
and said, "Hi Pallavi, I'm sure you're missing me." And that lady had never ordered a contraceptive pill from, right? So just because technology exists, just because you think that a notification is a far better way of communicating with people than an SMS is, no, actually it landed in a bad way, right? And I think they had to get into damage control, apologize to the lady by saying there was a mistake. And you can't blame these mistakes all the time on freshers and interns.
Right.
So I think before we say it's relevant, most brands unfortunately are using SMS in an irrelevant way, which is why I'd like to add spam calls. Spam calls to SMS. Are spam calls still relevant? Ask any manager, any owner in the BFSI space, and they'll tell you that credit card calls, life insurance product calls, health insurance product calls are still one of the major drivers of getting growth. So just because you find it irritating and I find it irritating doesn't mean that it actually is.
Right.
There must be some value that the brand is seeing, which is why these channels of communication still exist.
Because obviously you can market well when speaking rather than just sending messages. That will be more pushing the consumers.
So think of it like this, on X, on Twitter, earlier you were limited to only 140 characters.
Right.
You can see it as a limitation. We in our digital field were trained to look at it as an opportunity. Can you say the best in the least text and words as possible? Because if you keep it short, we were always taught the concept of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. So if you keep it simple, the chances of people remembering you, connecting with you. So simplicity, adding context, and making it relevant. I think these three things are very important before we say this doesn't work for me and this works for me. I think that's my take on it.
Amazing. Also, talking about in-app advertisements and website advertisements, right? That we have on Snapchat, Quora, and all these platforms. How do you think brands can level up and stand out their ads? Like honestly, if I open Snapchat, I'm opening it for seeing stories or posting stories.
Sure.
But when I see an advertisement you're doing, I just skip it.
Sure.
What can brands do to stand out their advertising so that people can more look into it?
So let me ask you, do you look forward to seeing ads on these platforms?
Not really. I am looking forward to what entertainment is there on the app, not the ad.
So what's the reason that you're on Snapchat? What's the reason that you're on a particular app? I think Quora, for example, you mentioned Quora.
Yes.
A few days back on Quora, I saw a question which said, how do parents fool their children? It's an interesting question.
Right.
And me being a father to a 7-year-old, I was very curious to read. Now, when I was reading, I was scrolling, I came across an advertisement just after this article. Now, if a brand is smart enough, if they understand what the question preceded and what was the question I was reading, or are they the answers I was reading, they should have served a relevant contextual advertisement. You know the advertisement that I saw? Get to know how a medical product will work wonders for your child. It's not relevant to me at this stage, right? Although the relevance of keeping with the child philosophy exists, but I'm not at the right life stage to be advertised an MBBS product, because my daughter is only 7 years old. I'm not thinking about that late in her life, right? I'm thinking about how I will prepare her for her evaluations, because she's still in first standard in the month of January. So my needs are very immediate. But had I seen an advertisement that would be very highly relevant to my daughter and the age that my kid is, I would have reacted far more favorably. So I think, again, it's not the advertisement, it's not that the advertisement is interruptive, it's the fact that how are you making it relevant, how are you using technology to serve the right content and set in the right context to me. I'll give you another example. Do you use ad blockers on your phone?
Yeah, I use applications like Brave and everything which
Correct. I also have an ad blocker installed. Now, what does that do? The moment you land on a website, some websites are intelligent enough to understand that the ad blocker is on.
Right.
So they prompt you. We notice that your ad blocker is on. Ad support us. So please apna ad blocker switch off karo. Now my phone has a feature in which I can read a web page in the reader mode.
Right.
My browser provides that. I click that button. And the article that was hidden behind the ad blocker firewall opens up as purely text. And I'm able to read it. As a consumer, what am I feeling? See, I beat you. You were blocking your article because I had an ad blocker on, but I beat you to your game.
Right.
I'm still reading your article by keeping my ad blocker on. Certain websites get that understanding and they don't allow me to read the article in the reader mode.
Right.
But don't you think the publishers and the brands whose articles I managed to read, they should have been smart enough to understand that? They should. Because I expect that smartness from the brand. Because now the brand has given me an opportunity to say, oh, I'm smarter than you are. See, consumers are very smart, right? Some articles are hidden behind paid firewalls. There are certain tools available that hop those firewalls as well.
Right.
So it's up to the CMO, the CTO to work in cohesion, to say, hey, listen, these are my problems, buddy. I'm losing money because people are still using and circumventing. Can you help me do this? And the problem is most of these departments work in silos. They don't work hand in hand, right? So I think the time has gone for a CMO to say I'm only a CMO and a CTO to say I'm only a CTO. Everyone is a CMO, everyone is a CTO, and everyone is a CRO in the Chief Revenue Officer in your top management. So I think you've got to be smarter than the consumer and protect your business interest. It doesn't matter whether it's an ad or whether it's anything. Try making that advertisement placement relevant to the consumer. And I think with the moment you enhance the experience, the problem of interruption goes away automatically. Then we're no longer talking about CTR.
Right.
How many years will we talk about CTR here? We're still stuck at less than 1% CTR. Need to go beyond that mindset, right? So that's my take.
That's amazing. So relevance is the key for any marketer or brand.
Absolutely.
To hit their target audience and make their mark.
Absolutely.
Perfect. One more thing that I have from my classmates and students studying at IIDE, the following questions. What do you think marketers in India are missing when it comes to connecting with their audience? So relevance is the one key aspect that we talked about for the earlier question. But apart from that, what all things you should consider while connecting with the audience. A lot of heavy storytelling is considered nowadays, like 3-minute long videos, a lot of storytelling. What all else could be incorporated, to connect better with the audience?
So I think storytelling is not going to go away anywhere.
Right.
It's definitely a very relevant space to communicate with people. But I think utility is something that gets forgotten. See, I'll give you an example to back what I'm saying. You're building a very glamorous route when you talk about marketing, right? This phone is the best.
Right.
This electric vehicle is the best. It's got so many features. Okay, you've got me when the moment I saw your ad, I purchased your product. Now, how is the after sales service? Are you still with me when I bought your product, or have you forgotten me? The consumer, see, your responsibility just doesn't end by saying, oh, listen, did you see the advertisement that I made? I want an award for this. So many people saw my ad. So many people purchased my product. Okay, but how happy are your consumers? Are they sharing positive reviews about your product?
Right.
I'm not going to name the brand, but look at what is happening to a very famous electric vehicle brand on the social media right now. Right?
Right.
CEO downwards is getting embroiled in an unnecessary controversy, which was not needed. Is there anything faulty with the product? I don't know, but I was actually thinking of purchasing an electric vehicle about a month back. Again, because it makes my job a little easier to move around with my daughter because she's got a lot of classes to go to.
Right.
But after seeing all this and reading all this, now I don't know whether it's true or false, but I've made up my own assumption saying, okay, I think we should wait for some time, right? So what is the brand doing? Are you just making a tall claim and a promise to me by communicating with me in your advertising, which is great. I think you should do it and continue doing it. And we've seen so much of innovation happening over so many decades and years when it comes to communication, right? Today we're talking about generative AI and how it's pervading in all aspects of marketing and communication. But what are we doing once the consumers purchased your product? Are we still hand-holding? Let me give you an example. I still prefer purchasing from Amazon vis-a-vis Flipkart. I don't know what your experience is, but that's been my experience. I've never had an issue with Amazon. Amazon gives you multiple options. You want to talk to my AI assistant? I have Rufus for you. You want to talk to my customer care? I have a number for you. You want to chat with us? I have an agent to chat with you right now.
Right.
And 99% times, they're always on the side of the consumer.
Right.
So
I agree.
Amazon's using advertising to talk about the Great Indian Shopping Festival. Very good. You have me, I'm coming on your app. But they aren't forgetting about me once I made a purchase. They care for me. Okay, there was a problem. Please tell me what the problem is. Okay, you say you got a wrong product. Can you give us a snap? So they are doing all the necessary checks and balances. Once I give them a snap, they say, oh, Gaurav, we've understood that your product is wrong. Great. Please consider a refund for your product. We're really sorry for the inconvenience we caused you. They are using technology. They're using the same things available after their marketing as well. They're ensuring that I'm leaving a positive review to whoever I'm talking to. Think about it. I'm talking positively about Amazon in this podcast, right?
Right.
Just because I've experienced it myself. So advertising and building expectation and making a promise, I think, is very important. But what are you doing in terms of handholding the consumer after the consumer has started using your product? I think that's more important to brands.
Right.
That's what I think a lot of brands are lacking.
So to build a successful brand, you need to be true friends with your customers, holding hands with them even after they've purchased.
So I would not use the term friendship. I would actually go a little ahead and say you should be empathetic. Please think like the consumer. Is he genuine? Amazon doesn't refund everyone. Amazon clearly says your account has been put on notice because your return percentage is higher.
Higher, right.
Then they look into your history. Why did you return the last 3 products? Okay, genuine reason. And they improve your history. Just like you have Sybil that tracks my credit history, right. Amazon's also using technology to improve my purchase history, my shopping history. And they're wiping my sins clean for returning products by issuing me a fresh lease of life. By saying, no, Gaurav is an honest shopper. We've been tracking him for so many years.
Right.
They're using technology at the back end, right? But they're doing a huge service to me by being empathetic to me. I expect this from brands. I don't expect your friendship. I want you to be empathetic. Right? That's important.
Truly. So we've now known what is important for brands to grow. Could you let me know now what are the major tools that digital marketers should know to, make their mark in the industry?
Yeah, this is important. I think this often gets missed out, when we all start on our digital journeys. And I also learned these things by by trial and error. But I think there is some science to it that I've understood over the years. If we try and classify digital marketing into simple buckets, okay, I want a website. I should know how Wix works,
Right.
which is a website builder, right? A few years back, WordPress was very relevant.
Yeah.
Now Wix is relevant. There are lots of tools. You cannot know about everything. But if you know about Wix, you get a fair understanding saying, okay, this is how a website builder works. Got it. Talk about mobile apps, right? So you've got Flurry. You've got mobile tracking applications so there is a beautiful technology called CleverTap and Apps Flyer. Now these tools you have to know, you must know, because your junior will be working on these tools, and if you're a senior person in marketing, imagine your conversation with your junior, right? The junior says, sir, ma'am, this is what Apps Flyer is indicating to us, and you're like, apps what? So you need to have hands-on experience when it comes to, there is a no-code. Lots of people are talking about no-code builders. You can now start building applications, mobile applications on a no-code platform called Good Barber. Now, how does Good Barber work? Now, the moment you say Good Barber, a lot of people are like, good what? Barber? B-A-R-B-E-R? What the hell are you talking about? So you come across as more informed, more educated, more informative. If you have working knowledge of these tools, e-commerce, you should know how Magento works. You should know how WooCommerce works. Shopify for e-commerce, you should know how Shopify works. Doesn't mean that you know everything about e-commerce, but at least the basics you should know, right? If it's display and video, how does Google DV360 work? How does Google Analytics work? Well, these things are taught in a lot of preliminary institutions and courses, but a lot of these things tend to get missed out on. So it's your responsibility, knowing your role, that you get your hands dirty, and these things are available for free now. You can learn these things on YouTube, and there's a lot of content for you to get. These companies will be very happy to visit your campus to give you hands-on training if you reach out to them. So I think basic tools, working digital knowledge, you should definitely have. It just makes you position far better, even when you're having conversations internally, and you get to know how to track your data. What should you do when you're looking at data, right? Data visualization. Tableau, for example. Okay, rather than seeing this report in Excel, I can see a real-time version on Tableau itself. And it's beautiful. Data visualization tools are available. It just makes your data look so more beautiful and so much more productive. Actionable insights, what should I do? Where is my data pointing me? Because ultimately as a marketer, why are you using these tools? To give you actionable insights, to improve your marketing efforts so that your consumer experiences be better. So that's what I feel.
Mastering certain tools and knowing the basics of everything is
Absolutely, it's very important. And I'm not just saying for digital marketing, I'm talking in other fields of marketing as well. You should know where you will need to work with these tools. You can't afford to look uneducated and uninformed.
Sir, it was an amazing session, but last but not the least, you have really good experience in the industry since long. What is one piece of advice that you would like to give to the new age marketers that are coming up in the industry?
So I think in as far as digital is concerned, the only way I've learned to keep abreast is to keep reading. Don't ever feel, and I think this just doesn't apply for digital. It applies for everything in professional life. Don't think you know it all, right? Today I had a session with your students in the batch, and I was extremely impressed when some students shared insights that I didn't know. So why should I feel that I know everything? Just because I've spent 25 years in the industry, it doesn't mean anything, right? And especially with digital marketing, you cannot know everything, right? You can claim to know everything, but you can't, right? So you can have a conversational point of view on certain topics, but the moment you start going deep down, you cannot afford to know everything. It's not possible. So I think one thing that I'll tell freshers is that don't be complacent. And it also depends on which what age you are, especially the Gen Z, don't be complacent, don't feel entitled, don't think you are owed something. We all start at zero, right? Just because you have a tag of having completed a degree from an institute doesn't mean anything. A lot of people are going to ask you, do you have any work experience, right? You have to show them why they should hire you. So I think we need to focus on things like when you're going for an interview or when you go for a job at a company, how are you going to add value to that company, right? When I used to hire people, I always used to ask people, if I hire you, how can you help me? I never used to check their educational qualifications and how many marks you've got. At least for me, that was not important, right? I need people who are empathetic to the organization, who feel that if I'm coming to work for you, I have to contribute. Right. How am I contributing? So I think in as far as empathy is concerned to the organization, that's my take on freshers. In as far as knowledge is concerned, there's just no end to it. Please be humble. Humility is not a sign of weakness. In fact, humility is a sign of strength. People will always view you very nicely if you're humble. Humble doesn't mean having no ambition. Humble doesn't mean that bowing in front of people. No, you definitely need to stand your ground. Humble doesn't mean having to say yes to everything. In my career, I've said no to a lot of clients, right? So humility, I mean in a different way, but reading in as far as knowledge, increasing your knowledge is concerned, and being humble about where you stand, you can learn from anyone. So keep those things open, and I think the opportunities are endless. You people are spoiled for choice. If you compare your generation with mine, you people are spoiled for choice. Seriously. Right.
So basically, keeping the ground rules that we've been taught at home: be humble, be kind, and keep learning, and sky's the limit.
And be a good person here. Yeah. I think that's very important. Being a good person is going to make you feel treasured wherever you go, both in professional as well as in personal life. At least have that bend of mind, right? Trust in people, trust in your organization, trust in your boss. Until unless something really goes awry,
right?
Have that trust, right?
So yeah, it was an amazing session. Thank you so much for joining here.
No, thanks, Anushka. I really enjoyed talking to you.
It was amazing speaking to you. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.